It's time for a 2023 quarterback ranking show. Right in front of your face are all the quarterbacks in the NFL, and we're going to put them in order one after the other. But I want to know who your top 10 quarterbacks are in the comments below, so get to work. In the meantime, the Fantasy Football Show, it begins right now.
This is the Fantasy Football Show with your host, Smitty.
Take a lap.
First, does anybody notice something different about your boy Smitty? You know, I love the old chair. I love the command center chair. It's over in the corner. I'm not getting rid of that chair. It's my favorite chair in the whole wide world. However, this bad boy is absolutely
got him.
Look at this thing. It's absolutely phenomenal. I'm going to the moon, young man. Truly, the best studio decision I've ever made. We need a little WD-40 there. On that note, oh God, I'm still getting used to some things. So back to work. How are we ranking these quarterbacks walking into 2023? We're not talking too much dynasty. I will give my dynasty 2 cents here and there, but this is a redraft ranking video. So the longevity maybe of a Jalen Hurts isn't as in question because he's a total running monster. Same thing with Josh Allen. These guys run so much, they're going to be more often injured in 2022. Josh Allen with the elbow. Jalen Hurts has been out. So long-term advantage kind of goes to Mahomes. And where's cigar smoking Joe Burrow? Why can't I even find him? Here he is. How can you miss him? Sticks out like Waldo. So long term, there's some advantages to having a non-running quarterback in some ways because, you know, they're going to get injured less often. The probability of it, at least. But for 2023, I think it's hard not to tuck Jalen Hurts for the one spot, but I think ultimately it's going to come down to Josh Allen. He runs, worrisome long-term, not so much for 1 year. He throws, he's unbelievable. I think Joseph Burrow, this playoff performance he's about to drop is going to make everybody think this is actually correct. Right now, it might seem bold today on January 12th, 2023, before the playoffs have even kicked off. Before wild card weekend of the 2022/23 playoffs have even kicked off, we've got Joseph Cigar Smoking Burrow at 2. It's going to seem very bold. By the end of the playoffs, it's going to be like, that isn't bold, Smitty. What makes you think that's bold? Everybody knows that. People are getting burrowed left and right, and people are going to remember it.
Get burrowed.
Hindsight's always 15-15, baby. But I'm going to go Joseph Cigar Smoking Burrow. I'm going to put Mahomes in third place. I'm going to let's scoot these guys over. Get nice and tight. Everybody get nice and tight. I'm going Hurts number 4. And I know everyone's going to say, Smitty, you love Jalen Hurts. How could you not put Jalen Hurts number 1? But there's a lot of things to consider here. Number 1, Mahomes and Allen finished number 1 and number 2 in most scoring formats, and Burrow was number 3. Now, granted, Hurts missed some time, but you could also say Joe Burrow started extremely slow, and that won't happen every year. Going by fantasy points per game average, it was Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Joseph Cigar Smoking Burrow, but they're all really close. I'm going to say this is my order, top 4 quarterbacks 2023. Here is where it gets crazy because we have a tier break here. I'm going to insert a tier break here. We need to have a tier break. There are no quarterbacks that can flirt with these 4 quarterbacks or have a cup of coffee with them on the regular. There are 1 or 2 quarterbacks, one of them being my number 5 overall, Justin Fields, for 2023 quarterback rankings. Actually, I would say if anybody could have a cup of coffee on the semi-regular basis with this group, it would be Justin Fields. I almost want to put Fields like in his own little sub-tier and put another tier break right here because he doesn't belong in tier 1, but he can be just as good as these guys 1 game out of every 2 or 3. So he's kind of like in a sub tier. The rest of it is a blender of a mix because location. Where these quarterbacks are playing in 2023 is going to determine everything. Will Lamar Jackson be in Miami? Last offseason was one of the most exciting offseasons in fantasy football history. The quarterback movement, all the trades, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Russell Wilson, we thought that was exciting. The Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady talk all offseason long. Where would Lamar go? Trey Lance, Jimmy G. There was so much going on where we were talking constantly about quarterbacks, constantly about trades. This offseason is going to be pretty darn exciting. The NFL draft. We've got the NFL draft order right here. The Bears get the number 1 pick. Who's going to take a quarterback here? Who's taking Bijan Robinson? Which one of these teams might end up trading for one of these quarterbacks we're talking about right here? Lamar didn't sign his contract extension for a reason. I don't think he wants to remain in Baltimore. He hasn't been successful in Baltimore. He hasn't felt supported in Baltimore. I think Miami's an option for him. I think Aaron Rodgers could end up a Raider playing football again with Davante Adams. I think Tom Brady could be a New York Football Jet. Now, could I see some of these being moved around? Could I see Tom Brady in Miami throwing to Tyreek Hill and Waddle and Lamar Jackson in New York? I could. Could Lamar be a Raider? Certainly. But if I had to predict landing spots for these three, and I couldn't have any of them stay or retire or whatever, if I had to predict change for every one of these three, this is how I would lay it out. And while Lamar could end up staying, we're predicting, does he go or does he not in these rankings? I'm gonna predict that he probably lands in Miami or a place that's gonna make him a lot more valuable. So while I hate the fact that he's continuing to disappoint, this is the third year in a row he's disappointed. He got hurt in 2021. He just got hurt again in 2022 this past season. He absolutely busted the entire first half of the 2020 season. So 2020, 2021, and 2022, disappointment. But it is hard not to rank him right here when he could be landing in Miami, New York, playing with Garrett Wilson, or in Las Vegas, throwing footballs to Davante Adams. I find it hard to believe that he doesn't put up a fight to get tagged and traded. The Ravens are going to tag him. They don't want to lose him for nothing. They also might want to force him to play on the tag. But players seem to have control right now over teams. I don't know why. There's no real explanation for it. But when you want to go somewhere now and you put up a big stink on social media, you seem to get what you want. And maybe the team doesn't want to pay Lamar. Maybe the team wants to start building for the future. Who knows? Maybe they want to tag him and run him out there one more season. But I think that now is the time to tag and trade him. Because if you think about it, if they tag him, he goes out and gets hurt again, running the ball a lot, and they really probably believe, okay, this guy can't stay healthy. Like a lot of people feel that way. But teams without quarterbacks are like, we'll take the chance. But if he goes out and proves a fourth season in a row that he's disappointing to some degree, he might be harder to trade. You can tag him and try and trade him the next year, but I don't believe the Ravens will tag him and force him to play. I think they'll tag him and trade him, much like Davante Adams was last offseason, tagged and traded to the Raiders. I think he's playing for one of these three teams, Miami, the Raiders, or the Jets, and that makes him pretty darn valuable, even if we're worried about him getting hurt again. The law dog has to go right around here. I could definitely go with Justin Herbert here or here. I really want to put Herbert, who arguably was a top 1, 2, or 3 overall quarterback in almost everyone's eyes walking into 2022. He finished fantasy QB2 in 2021. So it was shocking to everybody that he busted big time in 2022, the season we just finished. And while I think he's a big sleeper, he's probably the one guy that you're going to take in the 5th or 6th round that could explode and do what Burrow and Hurts did in 2022 in 2023. He could be that guy. It's hard to push him ahead of these guys. Trevor Lawrence, aka the Law Dog, is turning into something special right before our very eyes. He gets Calvin Ridley back next year. Until Herbert shows us something, and maybe he does in the playoffs here, he kind of has to be the de facto 7 or 8 quarterback ranked, which is good if you want to go bargain hunting. At this point, I mean, it really gets crazy. You start talking about guys like Brock Purdy, Kyler Murray recovering from a torn ACL, Aaron Rodgers, could he play for Miami, the Raiders, or the New York Jets, and what does his value look like if he gets wide receivers like Garrett Wilson or Davante Adams back in Las Vegas, or Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle? Can you imagine Aaron Rodgers in Miami throwing to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle? If that happened, we'd have to put Aaron Rodgers, I don't know where, maybe at the end of tier 1 or inside this tier with Fields. And I mean, it would be a game changer for Aaron Rodgers. And for that reason alone, because I do believe he won't be in Green Bay, he's either retired, in my opinion, or he's traded to one of these locations we just showed you, Miami, the Raiders, or the Jets. And any one of these 3 locations is great news for Aaron Rodgers' value. Same thing with Brady, same thing with Lamar. So while you might be like, how could you do this? What about Cousins? How can you not have Cousins ahead of Tom Brady, Smitty? Because I'm doing some assumption making, some kingmaker making assumptions in the offseason with the free agency and trading that Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers will be in better locations throwing to weapons like Tyreek Hill, Davante Adams. And while a guy like Brock Purdy, you need to talk about, and you need to say he's very capable of being in the Trevor Lawrence down to Tom Brady range, we don't know for sure yet how this is going to play out. We like to think of he's going to have this great run, but what if he stumbles? We don't know. what could happen. So you got to wonder if you can rank him this high yet, even though he's capable of it. So know that we're kind of waiting and seeing, because what if Shanahan's like, we're bringing Jimmy G back and we're going to have a three-headed competition for the starting quarterback in San Francisco. And don't tell me that can't happen. Shanahan's notorious for this. So it's hard to put him any higher than this territory here. Dak Prescott right here. Kyler Murray coming back from a torn ACL. He's kind of fitting that he's that small right there. I'd probably rather have Kyler if he's looking healthy, but I think until he proves he is, we need to put him like right here. We don't know what his offense or his coaching situation is going to look like. I mean, this is the top 13 quarterbacks right here. Kirk Cousins, I'm going to hear so much flack for having Kirk Cousins this late, but I'm going to put Kirk right here. The thing is, you can argue Kirk Cousins really in front of A-Rod or in front of Dak or all the way back here. You can argue every single one of these quarterbacks could rank ahead of the other. So I don't want to hear complaints. I love to see your rankings, and I want everybody to share their rankings in the comments, but you can't complain about Herbert being here or down here, or Dak being here or over here, or Cousins being there or over here. And you can't say things like, well, Cousins just finished as a much higher quarterback than any of these guys, when Herbert did the same thing. He was number 2 in 2021 and he completely busted in 2022. So it's all prediction game. And I think there's nothing wrong with this order. This is my order. I would love to hear your order. Drop it in the comments below. And get on over to thefantasyfootballshow.com, your year-round fantasy football rankings, bold predictions, trade calculators, one-on-one text advice, all of that and more at thefantasyfootballshow.com. Get ready for the 7 p.m. show. I'm live Monday through Friday. Every Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern. I'm live whenever news breaks. Now get out of here.
This is the Fantasy Football Show with your host, Smitty.